Hi guys, welcome back to the show. Today we're going to be delving into the world of professional dancing, working on a cruise ship, personal training and group fitness alongside endometriosis and battling kidney disease. So today I'm delighted to be joined by Sarah. How are we?
I'm good.
Thank you for joining us. So give us a wee bit about yourself then, give us a wee bit of kind of background about you.
So I was a professional dancer for 9 years and then retired out of problems that were out of my control, and now I am a personal trainer.
Yes, you're loving it?
Yeah, absolutely love it.
Great career change, enjoyed it?
Yeah, definitely. I could never sit still, and fitness was always in my life, so it was the next thing
Natural.
on the cards.
So taking us back to the start, you know, obviously we mentioned the professional dancing. Where did your love for dance first start?
You know what, I actually started dance quite late compared to most people. I didn't start until I was 10 years old, and it was actually because I was too competitive, and one of my best friends started it, and I'd started every other sport under the sun, and I thought, okay, I'll give it a go just to make sure I could do that as well, and then joined and kind of fell in love with it. Was still really competitive and just wanted to do all the shows, wanted to do all the competitions, wanted to do my grades, and then stuck with it.
And then obviously progressed, you know, through your career, and we'll obviously get into the breaking your big first break and the cruise ship, etc. But was it something you always wanted to do professionally, or when did that happen? Did it just happen naturally?
No. When I was in high school, I got into about fourth year, and I was still dancing most weekends, most school nights, but everyone started to panic about university and what they were going to do after school. Dancing wasn't a real job, a lot of people would tell me. You can't make much money doing dancing. I sort of panicked, but I also started to really not enjoy school. So I did fifth year and then got some hires, left, applied for college to do media, photography, film editing, got into to go into college, but then once you finish that year of college, I was meant to go into second year at university to just get a degree in film editing and things. And 2 weeks before that was meant to start, I just backed out and was like, nah, I'm going to go dance now. I'm young, might as well do it. Just something in the back of my head told me, like, you're good at this, don't give up. Like, there's people out there that I was seeing, like the older dancers from my school, working and earning money doing it. So I thought, that's it.
Why can't you do it?
Exactly.
Yeah, why can't you go in? And what kind of, you know, training, dance did you specialise in?
So I went to a performing arts school, and there was a musical theatre course, a dance course and an acting course. I did 1 year of musical theatre and I absolutely hated it. I couldn't sing to save myself. I only done it because I knew they were going to start the dance course the year later. So I went and just grin and bared it for a year and absolutely hated it, like every second of it. Only enjoyed the dance classes, that was it. And then a year later they opened the Just Dance course and I transferred onto that. And it wasn't like a specialised style. You had to do everything: ballet, jazz, tap, modern, commercial, contemporary, partner work, gymnastics, learn how to do aerial silks. It was really good. I really enjoyed dance college until about my last year, but it's hard. But we didn't specialise in anything specific, but my favourite was probably like the technical styles like jazz, and if we'd done shows, it was mostly like the theatre side of things, like musical theatre dances, not singing. And I quite enjoyed partner work, like the boys lifting you up and things.
Yeah, and obviously you mentioned so many different styles there. Was it quite easy to, dip in and out? Obviously, I can't dance, right? Honestly, you get out, like some people's like, come on, dance, and I need to have a good few drinks in me before I even attempt to step on that sort of list. A shambles. Tell us, what's it like to kind of blend those styles, or can you blend them? What's the...
It was hard because you would get some girls that were really good at the commercial hip hop style, and then other girls that had more of a technical background. And then you would get the odd couple who were just pretty much good at everything, or like average at everything, which depending on what world you want to go to in the dance industry after, whether it's music videos, if it's cruise ships, if it's musical theatre, there's different styles in each one. So everyone would say college is that important, but it's also not depending on what you want to do after. So sometimes you just had to go in and bear the ballet class even though you knew you weren't going to be a ballerina. But the technique is the base technique for a lot of styles. so it helps. But
yeah, I think that's, you said there, sometimes you have to grin and bear it.
Yeah.
And you know, that goes for a lot of things in life, doesn't it? You know, you don't want to particularly do the first aid course, but you know, you grin and bear it and do it because you have to. And there's multiple kind of examples of that. In terms of those early years, what sacrifice did you have to make to chase that dream?
my first ever dance show when I was 11 in the dance school that I went to when I was little, I ended up getting a lead part. They done this like hour-long ballet show, but I thought it was amazing. And it was because one girl, she left the dance school basically, and they needed someone else, and I got chosen, even though I was quite new to the whole, like I literally wouldn't be dancing like a few months. And my mum was like, well, if you want to do it, but I had 2 weeks to learn this whole like hour-long ballet. I was 11, and everyone was going on a school trip. And I wasn't 11. I was 13, sorry.
Yeah, no, that's all right, that's okay.
So I remember they were going on a school trip to France, like the PGLA outdoor activities place, and I'd paid everything. My mum had done it all. 2 weeks before, I got this part in a dance show, and I chose to stay home and learn this dance show in 2 weeks at 13 years old rather than go on a school trip.
Shows your
which was
commitment.
my own choice, but I did regret it a little bit because everyone came back like talking about all the stories and all the fun and stuff, and I was like, I was at home.
Were they buzzing with the trip then? And it kind of made you feel like you almost a wee bit of FOMO,
Yeah.
like you missed out?
Later on, it's mostly missing out. Being on the cruise ships, I missed out on a lot of weddings, a lot of my friends having babies, special birthdays, pets passing away, family passing away, things like that. It's a big, like, you miss a lot when you are on the ships.
Yeah, and you know, I 100% get that from that commitment side of you in terms of not going to events, not going to trips and stuff. You know, when I personally draw from that experience of swimming, you know, very much, you know, a time-consuming sport, especially when you're younger. You know, you don't get to go to the gaffs, as you like, or the parties. You know, you're up at 4 o'clock the next morning to swim. So I can personally relate to that, you know, sacrifice element.
Yeah, all the weekends.
Yeah, exactly. You know, your weekends as well. I was swimming personally, I don't know about yourself, but I was like swimming Saturday morning, and then I'd pick up on Saturday, so I wouldn't then go out on the Saturday night because I'm like knackered, what a day of rest.
Yeah.
What was your schedule like when you were that young? Was it quite intense? And I can assume it was.
Like when I first started?
Yeah, just that kind of that early on.
Yeah, like when I was young and I was in the small dance school, we used to do Saturdays like 9 till 5. Then I'd also do a Monday night, a Wednesday and a Thursday, and then a Saturday all day. And then if you had exams coming up or like competitions, that was a Sunday. So it was your whole weekend and during the week at night. So yeah, a lot. Dance college, Monday to Friday, 10 to 12 hours. And then if you had shows, rehearsals straight for 2 weeks. And they were 12-hour, maybe 14-hour days.
Yeah, you
Like,
pour so much into it, don't you? It's
ridiculous.
like, and you're pouring so much in, and you know, and this doesn't obviously just go for dance, it goes for a lot of sports. A lot of people will pour their early life into it, hoping for that big break, that big reward that's going to come, because it's not a given that it's going to come.
Yeah.
You just need to almost work your arse off to make sure that you're in the best possible position, you know, to get there. And in terms of that first big break then, as a professional dancer, when did that come?
You know what? In my last year at college, they always did the same Christmas show. And if you were in third year, which was your last year, they let you audition for a pantomime in Scotland. And in your third year, you can not do the show and you can do an actual job for 4 weeks, which I ended up getting with 2 other of my college friends. And we done that. And then that was my first professional job. And everyone was at college, like doing the Christmas show again, like, doing the same dances, same songs. And I was like, I'm getting paid. But it was really good and it was so much fun. And it's such a happy first job because it's Christmas time.
Yep.
And most of the time you're performing to children's schools and they absolutely love it. And it was just a bit of a laugh. Like, panto was one of the funnest jobs in the world. It's a bit mental, but on long days for a month straight. And it's around Christmas, but it did help you get into the mood and everything.
Yeah, I can imagine it was a nice, it's gentle break into that world, right?
Yeah, it wasn't like, okay, you're away for 6 to 9 months. It was like, in your home country, you can go home every night. I was with 2 people from my college class. Like, it was really good.
Yeah, you mentioned that home comforts.
Yeah.
Just there. Do you know anyone that's, you know, had, you know, because I can imagine it's like football, isn't it? Like somebody might need to go and play abroad. You know, they're not at home comforts anymore. Do you know anyone that's personally kind of moved across?
Do you mean like?
Yeah, just any friends, you know, people that you've danced with through school. Do you know anyone that's kind of moved across? Or you don't need to have known anyone, to be fair, if you don't know anyone.
Probably, yeah. Lots of people have moved to London. Lots of people. I think we all sort of. A couple of us did cruise ships. A couple of them went to London. A couple stayed in Edinburgh. But not really.
Yeah, no, it's all good. In terms of that transition, going from training to actually being paid to perform, you mentioned obviously such a good feeling, you know, because it can be quite intense.
Yeah,
the whole
I think
thing.
As well, everyone doubts that you're going to get a job. It's a really tough industry. To get your first break is quite hard sometimes, especially for girls, because there's a lot more girls trying to get into the industry than there is males. If you were to go in an audition room, I'd say it's about, well, I'm talking a few years ago now, it was like 80% females, 20% males. And most of the time, they're only really looking for males, most of the males and then like one female. So it was a lot like higher stakes. So getting that first break to just put on your CV, you were like, right, okay, 1 foot kind of in the door. So it did help, and it felt a bit of a relief. And then I ended up actually doing the exact same job the year after, because I auditioned again and they were like, oh yeah, okay.
Yeah, and you got it.
Yeah, so I did that again.
In terms of that dance world, you know, in terms it can be quite intense. When it comes to body image and competition, now this is something obviously we touched on when we met up before. Did you feel that pressure to be a specific way or in a specific shape quite early on, or was it a bit later that you felt that way?
No, it was definitely early. Even within that first dance show that I ever did, I was naturally at that age very, very slim. Like, probably a little bit underweight, but I was on a lot of medication for kidneys and other things then. But I was very active and my metabolism was stupidly high. And like odd comments about looking like a lollipop was made to me at a very young age, and I remember it.
Really stuck with you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But also comments on other girls making about other girls' bodies, or the teacher, ballet teachers coming up to you. It was brutal. I mean, like, suck your tummy in, I can see your lunch. Coming up to you, pinching underneath your arms.
Did they actually say that?
Yeah.
Wow.
Dance teachers.
Wow.
From like a little bit early on, probably not anymore. I feel like they can't say certain things anymore, but to us and to my generation, definitely, they were brutal. Or they'd come up, pinch your like wings, and they'd be like, we don't want to see any bingo wings. I was like 13.
Yeah.
Pinching your sides,
Wow.
like being like, what's this and stuff. Yeah, and then at college, you're standing in front of a mirror for 10 to 12 hours and 2-hour ballet class in the morning, and like these pink tights that you could see any bump, any lump through a little leotard, and you're like, that's not what I want to see at 8 in the morning, but...
Yeah. Yeah, it's quite heavy, and especially that young, you know, like, I mean, like, you know, myself when I was a lot younger, you know, I was a bit heavier when I was younger, so I wasn't, you know, as in good shape as I am. I mean, that's me bigging myself up there, but you know, that was a lot heavier when I was younger.
Yeah.
And I remember certain comments stuck with me. You know, you said like a lollipop there and the bingo wings, and you know, tuck your tummy and we can see your lunch, things like that. You know, those little comments. Now, obviously, it's not bullying, but in a way, you know, is it? I don't know.
Yeah.
Would you when you look back, do you see that?
It was always said as a passing like joke.
Yeah.
It was almost like they would say it and know it was not great to say to young girls. So then they'd be like, haha, and then like move on.
Yeah.
But then you'd always like be then scared to go into that teacher's class. Just a little bit, but you pretend you weren't, but you're always a bit scared to go into those teachers' classes after. Or you try and wear something different so they wouldn't make a comment, or that you looked a little bit better.
Yeah. Do you feel it's different nowadays? Obviously, we're now in a world where anything you can say literally could be held against you. You can say anything, and as soon as you say something, somebody could be on you saying that's not right. It's very much a called out culture. Do you feel nowadays that world is different and teachers are different, or do you feel like it's just not seen as much?
You know, I actually think it's really different. I think after COVID as well, I don't know why that's got much to do with it, but I think because mental health took, I think, a bit more limelight during COVID. I think the way we spoke to people took a bit more limelight, and I think people have changed that. And I seen actually this video on TikTok the other day, and it was like, people now in dance college would not have coped with like my generation of teachers and how they spoke to you and the tough love they gave. When I know girls that are like emotionally scarred and never went to performing because of some of the teachers. But some of them in the tough love, I think, built a bit of character and how strong I am and was in the industry. But at the same time, it was just unnecessary, some of it. But yeah.
I think it's striking that right balance, isn't it? You know, you say that about character building, and I definitely think that, you know, when I draw when I was younger, a lot of people, you know, my granddad and my Uncle Jim, you know, when they were bringing me up, there was a bit of tough love, and they would be a bit brutal at times, but it was in the right way.
Yeah.
So that when I'm older, I can really appreciate and look back and go, yeah, that was character building without crossing the line. Do you feel like it crossed the line quite a few times then when you were
Sometimes, yes, definitely. But then other times, no. And even when I was like dance captain on the ship, I would do the exact same technique, not in the terms of like body image, but I mean like how they were working, how we were worked. But now people would be like, oh, you can't do that. But.
And then obviously you're giving us a kind of glimpse into the behind the scenes of that, you know, world. Is there anything else that people don't see behind the scenes that?
Oh God, so much.
I'd
I'd
say a few examples.
Rehearsals. Everyone thinks we just turn up on a cruise ship and you're ready to do the shows. We've done like my first ever cruise contract. We had 4 weeks straight of rehearsal, like not one day off, not even an afternoon off, like straight. And this was only a few months after my first ever surgery, and I just remember being after like 2 weeks being like, I don't think I can do this. I was like constantly moving, like 8 a.m. You'd come in, you'd try on costumes, then you'd go and rehearse, and then you'd run the whole show, and then you'd go back what you learned 2 days ago. And it was like, I don't even remember what I did this morning. How do I remember what I did? Because you were learning so much. Like, the rehearsals are like the worst process in the world, but it makes it worth it when you did your first show in front of an audience.
Yeah.
And it all came together, and you were like, thank God, that's over. I'd say, yeah, rehearsal process, the costume process,
intensity of it.
Yeah.
It's quite intense, you know, because I imagine, don't get me wrong, any sort of show or anything like that needs to be rehearsed over and over and over. But sometimes, you know, when you're going, for example, you know, I've not been to theatre for years, but you know, I imagine when you go and you see this perfect performance, you think that was amazing, and it's amazing because they've put so much time, day and night, into making sure that show just runs, dead smooth. You mentioned there, you know, working at the shows on the cruise ship. Now, going to kind of get right into the cruise ship world and working on that. But how did the opportunity come about?
I worked for a company inland down in England who also provided the dancers and singers for a cruise ship company. So they sort of said, I actually didn't want to go on just yet after I graduated because I had some stuff at home going on. So I did a job in the UK, so I was only like 4 hours away from home in case something happened or whatever. So did that, and then they were like, okay, we have this little Christmas job, and if that goes well, like we can offer you a cruise ship next year. And I was like, yes, that's it. And I knew another girl who worked for them before on a cruise ship and from my college, and she sort of put in a good word, so that was nice. But then I ended up getting surgery, and I actually had to turn down my first offer and was like, oh, but I worked really well for you, please can I get one in the future after my first surgery? And they said yeah, and then did it the year after instead. So
yeah. And getting onto the cruise ship, what was day-to-day life like on board?
So there's a few different ranks in like the production team and like the entertainment. So dancers are at the bottom. They're like the bottom of the pile. Then you have singers and acrobats, production team. Then you have dance captain, who's in charge of all the dancers, and then production manager, who's in charge of everyone. When I was a dancer, little less responsibility, bit more. You go on, you have your day times free, you turn up for maybe a tech run in the morning or the afternoon, which just means running through the show, not at full power, but making sure you could do your lifts and everything, trying on any costumes that you need to try on, and then turning up, going out for the day, come back, do my makeup, go backstage, do the show, go to the crew bar. So it was a little bit less responsibility. And then being dance captain is when a lot of the responsibilities change, and if someone gets injured, if someone is sick or has to go home and you get a new person, or someone's contract just finishes because they don't finish everyone's contract at the same time, they'll send someone else and you have to teach these people. And the only time you can teach is when the theatre is free, which is normally when everyone else is at the beach. And you are having to stay on and teach someone 52 dances, for example, is when I was dance captain. But men, females, all different tracks, different sides of the stage, everything, completely different dances. But you had to know everything and you had to teach them. So that was a little bit harder to get around, but it was fine. It was still then you'd have your dinner, you do your makeup, you go backstage, work for about 3-4 hours and then go to crew bar.
Yeah, a lot of responsibility. So obviously everybody's out enjoying themselves.
Yeah.
You're on stage, you're working, practicing, taking yourself back to then starting before you actually got onto the cruise ship. Had you ever actually imagined working on a cruise ship before you got there?
Yeah, actually, I knew I kind of wanted to do it because I wanted to travel a bit more. And I've seen the older girls in the dance school going and doing things like that and then coming back. And it always looked quite appealing to me. I'd like to travel, like to be away from home. I wanted to go away. I didn't want to stay in my little hometown.
Wanted to get away. And where was the different places you went to then? I'm assuming there's quite a list.
Like the Norway, Iceland, Northern Europe. I even went to Russia at one point. Maybe shouldn't have been that. Yeah. And then South Africa, I did 2 contracts there. Then like Mauritius, Seychelles, loads of different little islands. Then a lot of Europe. I've basically seen all of Europe.
Amazing.
But it's so nice in summer. Like Europe is like insane. Like all the little Italian ports, Spanish ports, beautiful, and Canada.
Yep.
I'm trying to think if I've missed anything.
No, I mean that's an extensive list, to be fair, and you know a lot of people dream about going and seeing the world, and you know you're more or less done it. You know, don't get me wrong, there's probably still loads of places to tick off, but
everyone's always like, have you been to the Caribbean? And I'm like, no. It's the one place. I think, oh, okay.
You're like, come on, I've been everywhere else.
And Brazil. I was always dying to go to Brazil and get a Brazil contract, and I always got one. Then COVID happened. Second time I got one, I then got sent home, obviously when I was like medically disembarked.
Yeah. Which we're going to in a wee bit. Yeah.
So that was like my next place, and I was raging that I never got to do it. But I did go on holiday last year, so it's fine.
Oh, nice. And then, you know, they're talking about the actual performers, you know, getting back into that. They often talk about the strict standards that kind of you're held to, especially around weight and appearance that we touched on. How true is that from your experience?
Yeah, very true. So when you first start a contract, you get measured for your costumes. So you can't lose weight, you can't gain weight, you have to stay that size if costumes are made for you. Unless you're going to take it in yourself or someone on the ship, because most of the time, well, the companies I worked for, you didn't have seamstresses on the ship that could just like alter it, and they're all like really complicated, covered in sequin costumes. They're not like things that you can just like undo and then stitch it up. But a lot of the time that happened, most people lose a little bit of weight, so then costumes start to get baggy, but it's just because you're doing more exercise. But then if you gain weight, which some people do, especially on my first contract, we had to have afternoon tea with the passengers quite a lot, and it was really hard not to eat like the cakes and stuff. And some people like naturally just gained weight, and yeah, so you had to be careful. Second company I worked for, a bit more brutal, if I'm honest. Similar things like you couldn't lose or gain too much weight because you fit in your costumes, that's you measured in. But I think people on that company were a bit more opinionated about your weight. Like, it was an Italian company, so a lot of Italian workers around the ship that weren't even part of the entertainment team had a lot of opinions on girls' figures. Would call people the big dancer, oh, she's the skinny dancer, she looks like a skeleton on stage, like comments that these Italian officers know nothing about.
Yeah.
Wasn't a very nice environment, really. If you didn't wear makeup, they'd be like, oh, she's tired, she's ugly. Like, I always had red skin, but I was always in the heat, and they'd always be like, oh, you've got sunburn, your skin is burnt, your skin's burnt. I'm like, no, I've just naturally got really red skin without my full face of makeup on that you normally see me on stage with.
Yeah.
And a lot of pressure, to be honest. After COVID, I came back quite muscly, probably the exact same as I am now. And it was more my natural figure because I'd been home for a year and only been doing CrossFit, and I came back on and got told to lose weight. they were like, your energy is the best in the show, but you need to lose some weight. And I was like, I just laughed, and I was like, I knew once I had started dancing for 2 weeks again every night that it would naturally lean down a little bit, and the boys could still lift me. I could still fit in my costumes, and I had the best energy. So I was like, what is the problem? I was just a bit musclier than everyone else that I was cast with. Like, yeah.
How did you personally mentally cope with that? And do you feel like it had a real detrimental effect on other people's mental health on the ships?
Yeah, because it wasn't just me. There was a few girls that got told this during this contract, and it definitely affected them. And I pretended it didn't affect me, but I wouldn't eat in front of this manager anymore because they stayed on for a bit and like helped us set up the shows and everything. And they'd come to like lunch with us and things, and I wouldn't be able to sit next to her. I wouldn't sit in front of her. I wouldn't eat. I'd go back to my cabin and like secret eat. And then after a few months, people started saying to me, oh, you look great now, you've lost so much weight. And I was like, I actually felt great before. I remember being in COVID and like celebrating that I was getting a bicep and like enjoying to see my glutes come out and stuff. And then I went back on the ship and then just went back into my shell and like back into dancer mode, having to be tiny, like the tiniest I could be. That contract was specifically hard. I would say probably the hardest contract I ever did. And for the whole team, we weren't allowed off the ship for 6 months because we were still in COVID regulations. But we all took the job being like buzzing to get back to dancing because so many dancers lost their job after COVID. But I don't know if not regret. I just wish I handled it a little bit differently and stood up for myself and things. But it's fine.
You know, we personally know how that felt on land, if you like, COVID. What was it like on a cruise ship? Those regulations, because you know we were at the shops and there was social distancing, there was face masks. You know, when you actually think back to it, and you know, I talked to quite a few people about this, and you actually think back, it's a crazy time. Like you actually think back and go, did that actually happen? It's almost like a dream that was like, or a nightmare. To go, I was wearing masks and I wasn't allowed to hug you. I was but clapping wasn't a thing, and you were going like that. Do you know what I mean? I was like what's actually going on here? Did that happen? How did it feel on the cruise ship?
It's a bit like a joke, if I'm honest. It felt so strange that the crew, we weren't allowed off the ship for 6 months, but the passengers coming on from each different country were. We were only allowed in crew areas. This was 6 months, and if someone told me to do this now, I'd be like, absolutely not. But I was used to being a little bit isolated because of a whole year of COVID. So I was like, oh, it'll be fine. But 6 months without touching land, like you're going to go a little bit insane. And we had nothing to do. We had crew bar, crew gym, and even then, distancing and all this stuff. You had to wear masks, even though I'm dancing next to my friend, like this close, sweating all over each other on stage, like 2 hours later. So it made no difference. But, and you did your work. That was all you could do. Yeah. Like we could go up to sun deck, but even then they would watch to make sure you were like slightly apart. I was like, we're outside. Yeah. And if you left your cabin, you had to put your mask on. Like there was no doubt about it. So you do your full face of makeup and then put your sweaty mask on. Just go backstage, take it off, red lipstick everywhere, and then have to fix it, and then go on stage and then dance with my partner that I'm not allowed to touch in the corridor, but I can touch his hand on stage.
Some of it didn't make sense, did it? It's like some of it just did not make.
And you just watch all the passengers getting off and coughing everywhere, but we weren't allowed to. They did COVID testing all the time, but they just like tickled your nose, and I was like, this isn't real COVID testing. We've all probably got COVID. So, and then a week later, they started doing them like really high up and like really I think obviously properly, and then that was it. Like half the team had COVID, and I was dance captain at this point and had to like re-choreograph the shows from like 8 dancers down to like 3. And I was like, my whole team. We did a show about singers at one point, and it was just us dancing.
Did it work though? Did you make it work?
Kind of. We just did what we could do. It was just funny.
Yeah.
Like you just had to kind of laugh when it got to that point, because we were like, one would come out, one would go into quarantine, one would come in, one would go out. Like we were just like, that's it. That's the rest of the contract. So I just did rehearsals for those whole 6 months, which kept us busy because we couldn't go off to the beach.
It's crazy time. Yeah. Crazy time. And in terms of that cruise ship, any wild, stories, horror stories, anything you can spill the beans on?
Not really. There's too many.
Give me the best one. you can think of?
One day, this isn't that like juicy gossip, but my shoes flew into the audience before. Like my shoe was literally knocking someone out. My big 3-inch heel, and then I was like hobbling off stage. That was probably the funniest thing that's happened on stage to me. And I fell over twice in this massive dress, and I looked like a little ice gem in the middle of the stage because I had this huge hat with a little like thing here, and I just kept falling because my skirt was too long. Because every other dancer was like 5 foot, like taller than me, and I just kept falling on my skirt. And every time I'd fall, I was just sitting there, and I just sat there for about 3 counts of 8, and then this was like slowly got up. And I remember my agent was watching that night, and I was like, of all nights to fall. Gossip wise, it's honestly so much. Everything you think goes on a cruise ship goes on a cruise ship. That's all I'm going to say. It is like below deck, but 10 times worse and 10 times more people. But brilliant. It's hilarious.
We can make of that what we'll make of that, and you can let your imaginations run wild on it. In terms of then, obviously, you know, you've been through that kind of younger career as a dancer, going on to the cruise ships and having a real kind of focus on, you know, shape, and obviously overly focus on how you look, transitioning into personal training, you know, helping, you know, people feel better about themselves, improving how they look, but in a really positive way.
Yeah.
Talk to me how you found that new passion, that new purpose. How did you get into PT?
You know what? I actually, in COVID, was when I first thought about it as a career. Not because I was like, oh, I want to give up dancing. I was kind of like, well, I kind of need to have a plan B. Looked back at the whole film editing and stuff, and I was like, nah, I can't sit still. I'm not going to uni. Absolutely not. Looked at a few other courses and was like, oh, I can't study. And I know you need to study to be a PT, but it's different. I think the more in-person experience you have, the better. But anyway, I was in COVID, and the only gym that was open was an outdoor CrossFit gym. So I went, because I was like, I need to do something. I can't just sit in my house and do online dance classes on my carpet. So I did that, and then, I don't know, I just clicked with it, and I really enjoyed it, and the coaches were really nice. So I sort of asked them, like, how do I get into fitness? And then they said level 2, level 3, and then if you want to specialise in anything specific, then you have to do other courses and stuff. So I was like, right, okay. So I went online. Actually, I used my credit card and bought my courses, and then that was it. Started my level 2, passed that in COVID, then went back on the ship, and I was like, right, okay, well, it's there. And then while I was on the ship, I did most of my level 3 theory because I did it online, and then came back when I got sick and joined David Lloyd's and finished my level 3 practical. And then that was how I kind of got into it and was like, okay, that's another job that I am passionate about. Yep. Was unsure and I was scared to start with, but it worked out.
Yeah, and in terms of your background in dance, did that help the way you kind of approached fitness as a whole and clients?
I would say definitely. I was thinking about this earlier. Definitely the technical side of things, and see form. If you have bad form and technique when you're dancing, it either looks bad, feels bad, or you're going to injure yourself. Yep. Which is the same when it comes to fitness and lifting and having good form, having good technique. I understand how the body sort of works and how people understand it. Like all these technical fitness terms that your not everyday client won't understand. Yep. Like I feel quite comfortable talking to different types of people, but I think that's with working with different cultures, different backgrounds, ages, like everything. So working with different clients, I think, is a lot easier from dancing. I appreciate how nervous people can be coming to PTs. I think because going into a new dance job, kind of similar feeling. Yep. And I used to have to like introduce people and like start to make them feel welcome into the team. And yeah, I've definitely taken a lot from my dancing into my fitness.
Yeah, it's about making people feel comfortable in the right environment, isn't it? And, you know, as you said, when you were growing up, you know, you had people making, you know, quite nasty or comments that kind of brought you down, and then really made you overly think, you know, how do I look? Do I look okay? And you're constantly sitting questioning yourself. And that, you know, have I got too much? Has my lunch been too big? You know, you probably do think about that, you know, because it's stuck in your head. And the fact you've told me it today, it tells me that it has stuck in your head.
For years, I would naturally hold my stomach in which is also a dancer thing.
Yeah.
And I still do it to this day. Like if I'm just walking around the gym between like sets, I'll notice and I'll have to relax. So I'm like no wonder my stomach hurts.
Yeah, it's okay. Nobody's like worried about it.
Yeah, or like flare my ribs, but like sucking in.
Yeah.
Like it's so strange. And like people have said it to me before, they've noticed me doing it, and I'm like, why has no one told me? But then only till recently people have brought it up, and I'm like, that's so strange. I do that without even thinking now, just like sucking myself in. Literally strange.
How does it feel being on the other side of it then, in terms of, you know, drawing on the experience I just spoke about, and then just now actually not telling people, you know, don't worry about how you look, you're going to improve, you're going to get better, and giving them a real positive outlook on themselves?
It does feel good. It feels really good, especially when your clients start to understand it as well, and you start to see progress. Mentally more than physically, I think is a big deal for a lot of clients. If the head's not in the game, like it's not going to happen. So, yeah. Yeah,
they're going to always say to people, you know, if you really want it, you'll do it. And then, you know, some people might be in a situation where they don't feel quite ready to make that full commitment, you know, like you done with your dancing, like I done with my swimming, like you done when you were then going to do PT, you know, you threw everything into it to learn how to do it. Some people aren't ready.
Yeah.
And that's okay, you know, but eventually they'll get there. What do you love most about helping other people in PT and kind of group exercise?
I think the community, from what you bring when you start PT, and a lot of my clients are now friends, or you see the community in the classes that you teach, they trust you as well, and they become friends. Like a lot of my clients now that I talk to quite a lot, not every day, but maybe some of them, and it's just normal stuff. But so they're also friends that then trust you, and then they trust you with your their fitness and their well-being and everything. So definitely a good community to be in, and obviously seeing the results that they want and they never thought they could get.
Yeah, and do you think the discipline and mindset from performing has carried over into your coaching to then build that community that you're talking about?
100%. In my own training and their training, and how I speak to them, and judging the room, like their personality and how to react with them. Definitely, yeah.
Yeah, and is there any part of you that misses the cruise ship world and the dancing world?
I think I miss performing and I miss dancing. I'd love to go to more dance classes and take part, because I've actually not properly been to a dance class in about 2.5 years, which I think if I went now, I'd absolutely hate myself and trying to dance in front of anyone. But
like see me.
Like even teaching my little dance fitness class, like I always sometimes I'm tired and then I come out of it and I'm absolutely buzzing. I do miss performing. I miss being with my friends 24/7. I don't miss being away from home for that long. I don't miss not seeing my dogs for that long. I don't miss the strain it had on relationships. I don't miss like if you were sick, it was a horrible place to be. I don't miss travelling, because I still get to do that in my own time, which is quite nice now. Sorry. And so
yeah,
up and down.
So a wee bit in between, but as you said, really happy you made that career change.
Yeah, it was a big part of my life. So
yeah. Of course, it's always going to be sitting there, isn't it?
Yeah.
And you know, if you ever want to go back to it, I'm assuming you could if you really wanted to, especially whatever format it might be, whether it's small or large. You never know.
I feel a medical, that's the thing.
Yeah, and as I said, lucky just touched on the medical side of things, because that's exactly what we're going to move on to in terms of, we touched a couple of times on your personal health battles with different things. You know, a lot of strength and resilience to battle these things and continuing to do so. Endometriosis and kidney disease, not something many people, myself included, know a lot about, and really happy for you to come on and share your experience with it. Talk to us, what is endometriosis?
So the lining of your uterus basically grows outside of your uterus, creates tissue, causes inflammation. Normally it's little fibroids that you get, or you can get little adhesions. Don't know if that's the word correct, but anyway, so you can find it on basically any organ now. Everyone thinks it's just your sort of like your women, your ovaries and your tubes, but it's your reproductive system, but you can find it everywhere. And it can cause a lot of pain depending on where it is, where it's pulling. If it's pulling organs together, they can attach to like your bones, your walls.
When did you have your first experience with it?
When I was 22, I came off contraceptive medicine and basically had the worst 8 months of a period ever, straight for 8 months, and then went to the doctors. And at that time, it was actually the NHS and the gynecology department wasn't that bad. And I got seen pretty urgently just because of all my symptoms. And within 5 months, I had surgery. And then they found the stage 4 endometriosis.
Yeah, and obviously, I can imagine that had a massive effect on you, both physically, mentally, really took its toll. What was the next steps after that?
So the surgery did pretty well for me, and they got 99% of the endometriosis out, and they put the coil in, which helped me for quite a few years. I didn't see many symptoms apart from scar tissue damage and inflammation for the first year, and then after that I was pretty much quite good for a good few years. But it did affect some relationships, wasn't able to dance for a few months, sort of was if and an if I should keep trying to dance, and was like, what if the surgery doesn't help? And I almost quit. That's when I was like, I said no to my first cruise ship and was like, well, if it comes back, I can't go away. And almost gave up. But then was like, I'll wait and see after my first surgery, and I did. And I'm glad I persevered, because that was the best thing to happen. But I always knew in the back of my head, it's going to come back. Like, something always sort of told me, I mean, I knew that wasn't a cure anyway, and it could just grow back, and it did. But I'm glad it did last a good few years, because some females, they have surgery and then like 2 months later feel the exact same pain again.
Yep.
Depending how fast it grows back.
Yeah, and something you also mentioned to myself was, kidney disease. Something else that you've kind of obviously suffered with. Talk us through that. Was that at the same time? Was it before? Was it after? When did that?
So that was when I was 9, and they struggled to find a treatment that I would respond to. For a while, tried loads of different medications, cocktails of medications, in and out of hospital basically until I was 15, and on quite a lot of steroids from that age. Was in the sick kids basically a good few times a year, and then they told me I'd grow out of it. And then when I was 19, I was at college, and then went to A&E with symptoms, and they sent me home with anti-sickness tablets. 2 months later, I went to the doctors and was like, can you please check my bloods? Like, I really don't feel, and I think it's this, because I've had it before. And then they took my bloods and were like, yeah, you should have been hospitalised, because they checked my bloods from the 2 months before A&E, and they were like, you should have been hospitalised then. And I was like, well, I've been dancing every day at college with my kidneys failing. So then had a relapse then, is what they call it when it sort of relapses, but it comes back. But that got controlled quite quickly, because the medication that they finally found worked when I was younger worked again when I was 19. So that went away not like too long after, so it was fine. Basically, I was in remission for then until 2 years ago. So how many years? 7 years I was basically clear of it, because it can go away. And I was like, yes, I finally, like, that's it, maybe I've outgrown it. And then I was on the ship, and I was like, you know what, I've actually not leaned down as much as I normally would after my first month back on contract. And then I thought I was just hungover one morning, and then realised that my face was a bit puffy and all these other symptoms. And I was like to my mum, I messaged her, like, that's what you do when you're on a ship and you're away from home, panicking, like, what do I do? Help me.
Yep.
Mum to the rescue,
Yep.
even though you're miles away. And she was like, well, go to the medical centre, get them to do this, this and this, and then you'll know. And I was like, but if it is that, like, I knew straight then, like, if it doesn't get controlled on the ship, even after a couple of days, it can flip to, like, really bad. And I was like, right, maybe I've caught it early enough. I went on, but we were going around Greek islands, and they couldn't just, like, send me off to, like, a nephrologist or a renal doctor. Like, we were in, like, Crete and Santorini, like, on a Sunday, for example, like, it was, everywhere was closed. Went off, did a blood test. They did, like, a urine test, everything, blood pressure, everything just told me. And I was like, that's it. And then the doctor was like, why have you not put this in your medical exam? And I was like, because I've been clear of it for 7 years, so I've not had treatment for years for it. And she was like, right, okay, well, you should always put everything. I was like, right, okay. So then she was already angry at me. She was like, trying to get me to stay on the ship and do tests, like a biopsy and everything. I was like, if I get a biopsy, I can't dance for 2 weeks. I'm going to get sent home anyway from my own company.
Yep.
And then I still won't be getting back, because if it is that, I know I'll be in treatment for the next like good few months. And yeah, after that, 2 weeks later, I was sent home. Never went back.
Wow.
And still to this day, I'm on immunosuppressants for it because the treatment that worked when I was younger now doesn't work. So my body was changed. Like, it's a good few years. Like, later, you don't respond as well enough to treatment the older you get. So stronger tablets, was in hospital longer. Came home. Then last year, tried to come off it after 2 years. 2 years on medication. Tried to come off it this summer, and then my kidneys relapsed again. And so I was back on it, and they're just sugarcoating it until another year. And hopefully we'll try something else if it doesn't work.
Yeah, it's a lot to deal with, you know, like
Yeah.
both the kidneys obviously really early and then the endometriosis after.
Yeah.
So much to deal with alongside trying to build a career in dance and then, do you know what I mean? Like, just try to like work through all that at the same time is crazy. Resilience, like, you know, I don't say it lightly. Do you still feel it's, you know, mentally have an effect on you? Obviously, you grew mentally, physically, and professionally since then. Do you feel it still plays a big part in your life?
Yeah. I literally danced. I was like a stone heavier and my costumes didn't fit me. We couldn't wear heels because my strap wouldn't do up.
Yep.
So my whole team wore flat shoes on my last show because I couldn't wear heels. Because my ankles, like my whole body was so swollen and puffy because basically fluid was leaking from my kidneys and going around. I had to fly home and I couldn't even like sit on the plane because I felt like my knee was going to pop because there was so much fluid.
Yeah.
Couldn't do up my skirts. But it changed everything. But I was like, I am not dancing. They're like, so you're about to get medically disembarked. So I was like, I don't care. I was on stage and my dad came on for that last cruise and I remember just crying my eyes out because it was like not in my control.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is annoying. I want to decide when I'm ready to stop dancing.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, but
definitely.
Say it's obviously has a big effect on you, but you don't let it define you. You know, I see your stuff on Instagram all the time, and in terms of being really strong. And have you had other people reach out with the same thing? Have you ever
a lot with the endo?
Yeah.
Kidneys. It's strange actually. The kidney disease, I don't speak about as much.
Yeah.
But I think that's because it affects me actually a little bit more.
Yeah.
And because of what it affects, like losing my job and stuff.
Yeah.
The endo, I think because I know a lot more people have that, I'm more comfortable speaking about that. I find it easier to speak about those things, but I know other people don't, so that's why I do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you know, keep pushing through it all as we've just spoke about. You know, not letting it define you. You know, really battling through things. What would you say to somebody kind of battling it just now, and who then still want to chase their goals, because it can have a big effect on you, maybe wanting to pursue your goals, as you said. You know, like you lost your job because of it. So it's like some people might think, I don't want to chase that because I've got this. What would you say to people?
Health comes first. Like, you can't do anything unless you have good health. So you have to look after it. You have to listen to your body, and deal with those problems first. Obviously, sometimes I can be a little bit too determined, if that's even possible, and ignore some problems. Like when I was dancing, probably to that extreme, was a bit not great on my body, but I knew it was going to be the last time on stage.
Yeah.
But then if I come home now, and I genuinely think like health and listening to your body, advocating for yourself, getting second opinions is the best thing you can do before then going to the gym, lifting the weights, doing the classes. They can all come second. Like if you don't have your health, you have nothing.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Did you find it difficult to ask for second opinions? Because you know a lot of people through life health will almost be nervous to speak to someone about something. You know, and that goes for mental health, physical health. You know, it could be a job, it could be anything. Like, but people always struggle to ask for help, ask for second opinions. Did you find it hard to do at the start, but easier to do now?
I found it easier now. At the start, I don't know what's happened. So when I first had surgery with endo, the doctors were a lot more understanding. Then when I went back in these last 2 years, it was just not a thing anymore, and they just didn't believe you. And I was like, I have past history of surgery. Like, what do you mean it's not came back? And I was like, I know it grows back. I know the pain. I've had it before.
Yeah.
And I was like, and I know this symptom, and I know this, and like, why are you not listening to me? And then it took me 3 different doctors to get finally a referral for gynecology on NHS. And then that was only because like I wasn't like almost crying and they were just tapping like my lower stomach. And I was like, look, I know this isn't right.
Yeah.
And then they were like, I don't think it is, but we'll refer you because you've got past history. And I was like, right, okay. Waited a year and was like, how much longer? And they were like, another year to see just a consultant. So I was like, right, I'm not doing it. So I looked at my finances and was like, right, how much is a consultation in like the private?
Yep.
Because there's obviously in the David Lloyd I work at, there was one across the road, and I was like, kept looking at it and was like, looked at reviews of the doctors, all amazing, like sounded really good. 20 minutes with this man, this doctor, and I felt more reassured that I wasn't going crazy than any other doctor I've ever spoke to. And it was 100% worth the money, and then got surgery within 8 weeks.
Excellent.
And was not crazy that doctors told me, they said, like the things they told me like are not correct. Like I asked the doctor before and he was like, I don't know where they get their degree from, but it's not there. That's not true. And I was like, I know that. Like even I know that. Like why are they telling me that? Like gaslighting you. But so yeah, definitely with endo. Definitely going getting a second opinion was the best thing.
You do. Nice. And important kind of asking for help and you know looking back on the whole experience, starting dance, going professional, you know, the Panto cruise ship, at the PT fitness, battling those endometriosis and kidney disease. You know, what, if we go back to the dance side of things, what do you think dance taught you the most about yourself?
Like you can always do it. Like sometimes little doubts in your head, everything like that, but no matter what, if I've known I've given 100%, then like 9 times out of 10 you're going to be able to do it.
Yep.
You can do hard things. Like I think people give up too easily, and I don't know if that's just because I'm extra stubborn and competitive within myself, but you can do it.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that though, is there? Being competitive. As you mentioned that right at the start, you know, you're quite a bit competitive person, but you don't lose that, do you? It's just it stays with you. Even if you're playing like a game of Connect 4, like I'm raging when I lose. I'm like, I'm raging. In terms of strength, what does that mean to you today, especially after obviously everything you've been through?
Not giving up. I would say progress over perfection, and being open-minded and looking after yourself.
Yeah, most important. And in terms of that, looking after yourself, it's a big one. In terms of your goals, you know, fitness, health in general, or life, you know, as a whole. What are your goals now?
To advocate for like endometriosis, to have a business that is successful in helping people and raising awareness, and I want to, this is a really random goal, be able to take like my mum on holiday.
Nice.
For everything, pay for everything, like that's one goal. And then health-wise, it's just to continue to look after myself and preach what I preach to my clients, also to myself.
Yeah, no,
I find that's hard sometimes.
No, I love that. That's really cool. It's a bit unique to you as well. You know, everybody's got their own goals, haven't they? Nobody's got the right to rubbish anyone's goals, however small, how big, you know, how daft it might seem. Somebody's got a goal. You know, it's unique to them. What's to kind of wrap everything up? You know, what's one message you'd want, you know, people that, you know, follow your story, follow your Instagram, work with you? What's one message you'd want people to, you know, really take away from your story?
I just think always advocate for yourself. Don't rely on anyone else to do it for you. You have to be your own biggest cheerleader. And only you know how you feel, truthfully. Like you can say something to anyone, but deep down, maybe if you're feeling another way, like how do you expect these people to understand? Like you need to be truthful how you feel about if you enjoy something, if you don't. I just think you have to be your own biggest cheerleader and advocate for yourself and look after yourself.
Yeah, more importantly. But listen, thank you so much for being so open, both about obviously the health issues you've had and obviously your whole experience in dance, but really appreciate it. Thank you very much. Cheers.